Hello, YouTube model builder fans. I'm Ray, and welcome to the Boeville. Jeez, this is getting off to a great start already. Welcome to the Boeville and Newtown's vlog number, I think it's 7. I should have looked, but I don't know. This one here was kind of impromptu. You can tell I'm kind of like really, well, I look like a schmuck. Not that that's unusual. And it happens to be July 4th of 2019. I'm, of course, doing throwback here a little bit. I started doing something and I was like, you know, I really wanted to show how this goes together. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip the camera here for a minute and I'm going to show you what I'm doing. Surprised. Hold on. Girder Benchwork. Unfortunately, I started putting together the front side here. But I wanted to show kind of how easy this is to put together. I'm down here in the basement / train room by myself, and I'm actually in the process of putting the Girders back together. I've got and I'm sorry if the only thing you're seeing is my waist. Sorry, it could be worse. My bag of bolts from when I tore this thing apart, and these are 1/2 inch, all thread. 2 washers, one will go on the outside, one goes on the inside, and of course obviously there's a 1/2 inch nut on the back. So with the back side, this one here is going to be a little bit easier. If you all remember, I went ahead and for this particular layout, the original layout, and I'm able to actually reuse a lot of the benchwork, or I'm going to be able to reuse part of the benchwork. It was spliced. So what we've got here is a 5-foot section, approximately. Let me grab my ruler, my tape measure here, just so I'm not too far off base. And, okay, it's 68 inches. So it's 5 foot 8 inches is the length of the board that was cut out of MDF, medium density fiberboard. The medium density fiberboard was glued and screwed at right angles to create the Girder. And I still have the other Girders sitting here, so we can actually take a look. That's an Girder. This here happens to be actually piece number 4, 6, and 6. And basically what that means is that this was a splice point, because that one run was 11 feet, or 13 feet. 13 feet? No, that would have been 11 feet down the walls, I'm sorry. So it was 11 feet down the walls. So obviously it had to be spliced. Well, what I've got on the back here is I've got piece number 2-4, which is the other half of that one. And I've obviously got the splice board, and what the splice board is, all this is and it's going to be kind of hard for it to show up on camera, but this is where the legs go. There's actually 2 holes here for the legs that, I'm sorry, these are for the screws that hold it together. There's a bolt here for the leg, that'll be in leg 4. There's another bolt on this side that goes to ties the piece 4-2, and then this one here is on 6-4. There's also a screw hole in here in the center, and these I was using sheetrock decking screws to help hold it together once it was spliced back together. The bolts are great. The bolts hold the legs, but you still needed some way of holding, I guess, holding the splice together at the leg point. So what I'm going to do, since I've already got the front kind of done, not 100%, I'm going to go ahead and grab the washer and the nut that goes on the back side of leg 1-3. And yes, everything was labeled when I put it together, because you have to remember now, this is the 3rd time that this is going to go back together. The first time it was put together was over my mother-in-law's. And then we moved into my old house over at Oakcroft, and now we're over here at Gypsy Lane. So this is the third time that this is getting put together, and hopefully the last. So I got my ratchet, my nut driver, and that's not the right bolt. That's the bolt that goes between. Some idiot went ahead and just threw all the, actually that might be, that's one of them. Somebody went ahead and threw the ones that held the layout together along with the bolts that held the legs up and threw them all in the same bag. I don't know who that idiot was. Oh wait a minute, that would have been me. Now, alright. 2, 4, 4, 6. Alright, so where's my, there they are. This goes in the way. That goes there. That goes there. That goes there. I need my washer. Now all I'm doing here at the moment at this splice point is I am not tightening these up. The only thing I'm doing is getting them snug. So when I go to put the next section on, I don't have any binding. I think that's pretty well snug. Now, one of the other things that you're going to notice here, and I didn't mention this before, but when you look up here, this is leg 1 and 2. These are actually sticking up above the L girder. That was a mistake. And I'll admit that. These are going to get chopped off. They should be level with the L girder. The reason why you want them level, obviously, is so that way if you decide that you want to drop the L girder down or something like that, you don't have this huge thing sticking up through the middle of your platform. So I've already double bolted leg 1. So we're going to go over here and we're going to double bolt leg 2. So that'll make this whole section here fairly secure. Now, one of the other things I did, I kind of took a page out of another book, I guess to say. The holes that these bolts are going into are extremely tight. So the bolt actually has to be screwed into the leg. It slides through the MDF. I just lost a nut. The bolt will slide through the L girder, but it has to be screwed into the leg. And that's just for added strength. That's just to keep it from moving and shaking and possibly coming loose. I don't use lock washers. I probably should. But I figured for this application, and as strong as this thing is, once it's together, it doesn't go anywhere. So, alright, that takes care of that. We just slide this away from the wall a little bit. Now, one of the other things I did, and I'll show it on the next leg assembly, is the upper bracing is actually longer or wider than the leg assembly itself. And that was done for a reason, so that when I went ahead and had to do this, like I am at the moment, which is mano a mano, I could just put the L girder on the brace and not have to worry about it going anywhere. Now, hopefully, everything is square. of course, dummy me apparently has left all of his squares upstairs. So, alright, what we're going to do is we're going to swing over a little bit. And you're probably wondering what I'm videotaping off of. Well, when I get finished, or recording, I shouldn't say videotaping. Nobody tapes anything anymore, right? Nobody videotapes anything anymore. I'm dating myself. No comments from the peanut gallery, and I know the peanut gallery is laughing right now. That's fine. Alright. Leg assembly 5 and 6. Now, if you notice, there's some wire hanging on here. This is actually going to go away. This actually went all the way back up to the leg 1 and went over to the switch. If you remember, I had that swing bridge. That's what this did. This was the main power for the layout. The power came into this and came out and then went on from there. In fact, leg 3 has actually still got a 4-gang box on it, which for the moment will stay, but I'm going to be completely redoing the electric on this layout mainly because of its size. You all know by now that this thing is going to take up a space somewhat close to 36 feet by 8 feet. Well, the one end will be 8 foot wide, or 8 foot long. This section here is part of the 36 foot long section, which in reality is really only 33 feet. Because once you get down to the far wall down here, it's going to be 3 feet away from the wall. That's my thing, that's my design, that's what I'm doing. I'm going to be 3 feet away from this wall with the edge of the layout. I'll be 3 feet away from the wall down on the other end here. And that's really the only 2 places I have, other than where the bar sits. Those are the only 3 places where I had to worry about being away from anything. This end goes off into oblivion. This side, where the camera is sitting right now, that side isn't a big deal either, because there's really nothing of it except for what was a kitchen table at one point, which is now going to be a game table. So this is going to be a multi-purpose room. So anyway, we were talking about the legs, or the leg assemblies here, and the fact that I was going to be getting rid of some electric because this electric isn't going to stick around. I'm going with something a lot different. Obviously, when I really get into building this thing, you're going to see what I've got planned. I'm literally going to put this on its own dedicated circuit. Couple of reasons. First reason being is, as you know, I like to have all my buildings illuminated. Okay, well, that's going to have to be, to a point, its own circuit. The power packs that are going to run the railroad are going to be another circuit. And that is still kind of up in the air right now. I came across something on one of my Facebook haunts and found somebody that is building something that I thought was rather interesting. Actually, he's been building them for years, and I'm actually halfway considering going over to them. I've heard a lot of good things about them. They're very nice. They're not cheap. They're about $45 a shot, and I figure I'm going to need 3 of them. One for Boeville yard, and then two for the trains that will actually run on the main layout. But one of the other things, and I don't know if I mentioned this in the last vlog, this is still going to be a continuous run. It won't be 4 tracks. It'll actually be 2 main line tracks plus the trolley that'll go around the city. So I'm down to 3, where I was up to 5. I'm losing 2 tracks, which to me is no big deal. I'm going to really get what I want out of this now, which is a point-to-point plus continuous run. So over near the bar, there will be a control panel for hanging off of Boeville that will actually give me the ability to either turn on and just let the trains run. The 2 trains just loop around the system. or flip the DPDTs into the opposite position, which would be to use local throttle. And like I said, that's where the interesting thing is going to come in, is this local throttle. It's not DCC, and trust me, I was really considering it, but with everything that's going on since we've moved, I really can't do it, at least not right now. So I'm looking into something else, and let's just leave it at that. So when I get to that point, you'll see what it is. Anyway, now that we're completely off topic, we were talking about Girder benchwork here. This is the leg, not that leg, this leg. This is actually leg number 6. If you notice, here is that upper brace that I was talking about. That gives me the ability to take the Girder and rest it on here while I'm putting the bolt on. So that makes it real convenient for this. So my even legs are on the back side, my odd legs are on the front side. Put your right foot in, no, let's not go there. No, I haven't had one of those days. I've had one of those years. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going into the splice for leg 3-5. And what do you know, I think I put that one there pretty close. Okay, so now, back over to my bag of bolts. What I'm actually going to do this time is I'm actually going to go down here to leg 3-5, and of course I'm going to be off camera, so you know what, let me go ahead and swing this a little bit. Hey, ta-da! I'm pretty close, but I'm not quite where it needed to be. But that's okay. Fudge factor 5. Actually, it was pretty freaking close. Alright, so that's the upper bolt. And that's going to go into the upper, obviously the upper hole of the upper leg, or of leg 5 here. And spin your partner round and round. Not my good side. Actually, I don't have a good side. I've got a face for radio, what can I say? Alright. Getting close. Getting closer. There it goes. Snug. Snug as a bug in a rug. Take it upright. But that doesn't matter at the moment because I gotta come down here and I gotta make sure I get this one in before it comes apart on me. Now we're back down here to the splice point. So what it is in the splice point, this isn't even either. There we go. You got one bolt going through one Girder, and then the other bolt goes through the other Girder plus the splice on either side. Again, what do they call that? Belt and suspenders. And eventually, once this is somewhat together, I'll actually run those sheetrock screws, which I've got in here, not sheetrock, but decking screws, back in here as well. And it gets 3 on this side and 3 on this side. like I said, belt and suspenders. That's getting there. Now, in case anybody's wondering, and I'll take measurements on this in a second. Actually, that was backwards, dum-dum. Right, that's the big one done. The L girders are 3 inches all the way around. So it's a 3-inch top plate and a 3-inch side plate. Like I said, for the most part, extremely solid once it's all together, and pretty much bulletproof. Now, one thing I will mention as I go off camera again. Ta-da! One thing I will mention though, and I've got one piece on the floor here that I'm not going to be able to use. I'm going to have to cut some new MDF. If anybody has been following this menagerie of this wonderful move that we made, there was a pool table down here at one point. A couple buddies of mine and I, when they came over to help me this Sunday after I moved in, to help me get some other things straightened out. One of the things was what's now the bedroom down here had a pool table in it. And if anybody is familiar with Sears and the old 1960s, 1970s AMF pool tables, well, that's what this thing was. Well, somebody in their infinite wisdom, and I don't know who, decided it would be a good idea to go ahead and put epoxy paint on the floor in his basement. Not a bad idea. It's a pretty good idea, actually. Seals it. Make sure that you don't have any water intrusion issues. It's a pretty good idea. Great idea, poor execution. They didn't let it dry. So, said pool table got stuck to the floor. And when we went to move it, the legs started coming off of it. And we were like, well, this isn't going to end well. So, me with my bright ideas, decided, you know what? I've got these L girders that I built for the railroad. They're nice and strong. We'll use those to lift it up off the floor so we're not picking it up by the actual table, which had started to fall apart. Yeah, we got it out to about where I'm standing, and one of the L girders broke. For 16 years, that had been underneath the layout, never had a problem. We go and move a pool table with it, it falls apart. Go figure. I think that's Murphy's Law. Anyway, so now we're on to the back side here, which, funny enough, is just like the front side. Let me go ahead and swing this around a little bit again. And I'm sorry if I'm boring anybody, but of course I'm probably boring a lot of people, but that's beside the point. Let's see here. 23. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Because I've got to do 2 there, and I've got to do 1 down there. And I'm going to do the 2 down here. Foist. Now, I can tell you something else with this, looking at it. I was originally thinking that I may end up having to, or I may end up putting a splice down this end so that because of the fact that obviously I got a longer way to go. But looking at it at the moment, the back side might get spliced. The front side will not. And the reason for that is I have to go from what's essentially going to be about 5 foot wide on this section down to 1 foot and 3 inches. So that's going to make things a little interesting. Hi, Em. What you doing, girl? This is Emma. Come here. Em. Well, they can see you. Hi, Em. Hi, Em. This is our Anatolian Shepherd Pyrenees mix. She's 4 years old. What? What you doing? Did you come in to see what I was doing? Did you come down here to help? Huh? Huh? Our Australian Shepherd Border Collie mix is probably hiding in the den right now underneath my desk. Or maybe not yet, but he will be. He doesn't like loud noises, and as everybody knows, I just said earlier, it's the 4th of July. What are you doing, Dingus? Huh? What? What? Hey, you smell the old house? You smell the old house? Hey, you remember the old house, don't you? You remember the old house? Hey, look at that. There it is. Anyway, what I was getting at is I'm probably going to end up splicing an L girder on the back side of this, or just splicing the L girders down the back. And then, can't do it that way, it's got to be done this way. There we go. And then we've got one more to do. And almost off camera again. There's a rug down here, and she likes to come down here and roll on it for some reason. Still not 100% sure why that is. But that's what that growling is that you hear. Emma. Screwy dog. She's a rescue. We got her. She's the one we just got back in December. She's obviously a bit of a nut. Really fits in. All right. And that, my friends, oh, one other thing I forgot to mention, and this is a nice tip. This is a T-nut and a bolt, and this is the level the railroad. So what will happen now, before I actually start putting 2x4s or whatever it is I'm going to put down on this thing, I'll actually bring a level out here and I'll level the thing off, and then I can start putting my 2x4s or my other dimensional lumber, and then the top, which of course will be plywood. So, that is old Girder Benchwork, and that's a dog, right? What? What? What you doing now? Anyway, you all. This is something else that she likes to do. Hi. What you doing, girl? Huh? What you doing? Hey, look up. What? She's gonna start pawing at me here because she wants me to pet her. Anyway, you were wondering what I was recording off of. Well, let me go ahead. I'm just gonna. Sorry for shaking it, but there is the crash cart. I finally went ahead and put it together the other night, and I just wheeled it out here so I could go ahead and use it to hold the tools while I was working on the bench work. So far, you know, this is where we're at. Can't guarantee you that we'll be running trains by Christmas. That's a long shot. That's a goal, but it's a long shot. Actually, I might be running trains by Christmas. I'll just put them on the card table over here. Or I'll set up the old N-gauge layout. Gotta have some trains to play with, right? This has gone on for almost 30-some minutes, I think it is. 31 minutes. Oh boy. YouTube's going to kill me. So if you have any questions, comments, go ahead and drop them down below. I'd love to hear what you all have to think and what you have to say about this. And you know, this is going to be a neat project. I mean, like I said, this is. You know, this has got to go all the way down there to the other end of the basement. So, you know, I got to go ahead and get a good measurement from the back wall to the L girder, and to go ahead and make sure that I get my 3 feet back here. I think I measured this out before. I think it's about 4 feet or 3 feet from edge of the L girder to the other edge of the L girder, so that's 3 feet there, and I just need to make sure that I have, you know, 6 inches. Actually, since I'm going to 5 feet, and I've got to make sure that I've got a foot on that side from the L girder to the wall, so that way this thing is pretty much centered, and then we can start moving on from there. But got to start somewhere, right? You all know the deal. You wait for the high ball, green tracks ahead. To the Americans, happy 4th of July, to which I'm one, obviously, you know, hey. So, have a good holiday, be safe, God bless, we'll catch you next time. See ya!